My name is Michael Carter, and I'm 36 years old. 3 months ago, my younger sister called me crying. She said she had made the biggest mistake of her life. She said she needed my help. And she begged me not to tell our mother what had happened. I thought she was talking about her marriage. I thought maybe her husband had cheated on her. I thought maybe she'd lost her job. I never imagined she'd sold the house our father left us. Without telling me. For $640,000. And spent almost every dollar. But the strangest part wasn't that she had sold the house. It was that she believed she had every legal right to do it. She didn't know about the second will. The one our father had hidden from everyone. Including her. And when I finally showed it to her, she went completely silent. Because the first thing written on the last page was, "Michael is the only person I trust to make this decision." Before I tell you how we got there, take a second to like and subscribe if you enjoy stories about family secrets, betrayal, inheritance, and the moments when people finally get what they deserve. Because this one gets complicated. And to understand why my sister thought she could sell my father's house, I need to take you back to the beginning. My father was named Robert Carter. He was 67 when he died. He wasn't rich. At least, that's what everyone in our family believed. He was a mechanic for almost 40 years. He owned a small auto repair shop outside Columbus, Ohio. He wasn't the kind of man who drove expensive cars or wore designer clothes. He wore the same faded jeans until the knees became thin. He drank black coffee. He woke up at 5:30 every morning. And he believed that if something was broken, you fixed it instead of throwing it away. That applied to cars, furniture, houses, and apparently families. My parents divorced when I was 17. My sister Emily was 14. After the divorce, I stayed with Dad. Emily went with Mom. That created a distance between us that never completely disappeared. Emily was always closer to Mom. I was closer to Dad. Not because we loved each other more. We were just different. Dad and I could spend an entire Saturday working in his garage without saying much. Emily hated being in that garage. She used to complain about the smell of oil. She wanted nice things. She wanted to travel. She wanted to move somewhere expensive. And Dad never really understood that. He used to say, "Emily thinks happiness comes with a price tag." Mom would respond, "Maybe she just doesn't want to live like you." Dad never answered. He would just go back to whatever he was fixing. When I was 23, I moved out. I got married. Then divorced 5 years later. I never had children. Emily married a man named Jason. Jason was charming. At least at first. He worked in sales. He always had a new business idea. A new investment. A new opportunity. And somehow, he was always short on cash. Dad never liked him. He never said it directly. But one evening, when Emily and Jason had left, Dad looked at me and said, "That man doesn't build things." "What do you mean?" "He finds people who already built them." I laughed. "You're saying he's a parasite." Dad smiled. "I'm saying watch your wallet." I should have listened. 2 years later, Dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Everything changed. Emily suddenly became very involved. She started visiting him several times a week. She brought groceries. She took him to appointments. She called Mom. She called me. At first, I was grateful. I lived almost 4 hours away. My job made it difficult to visit as often as I wanted. Emily was closer. She could help him with things I couldn't. For the first few months, I believed she was doing it because she loved him. Then I noticed something. Every time I visited, she wanted to talk about money. "Did Dad ever tell you what he was leaving us? Do you know how much the house is worth?" Did he mention the shop? Do you know if he has life insurance? The first time she asked, I ignored it. The second time, I told her. I don't know. The third time, I finally asked. Why are you so interested? She looked offended. Because I'm his daughter. So am I. I know. Then let Dad decide what happens. She sighed. You always act like you're protecting him. Maybe I am. She rolled her eyes. You're so dramatic. I didn't think much about it. Until Dad called me one night. It was almost midnight. I answered immediately. Hey, Dad. His voice was weak. Michael, are you okay? I need you to come home tomorrow. Something in his voice made my stomach tighten. Of course. Don't tell Emily. I sat up. Why? Just don't. Is something wrong? He was quiet for several seconds. Then he said, There's something I need to give you. What? I'll explain when you get here. I drove through the night. I arrived at 7:15 the next morning. Dad was sitting in his kitchen. He looked smaller than I remembered. His hands were trembling. He pointed to the chair. Sit down. I sat. He went to the bedroom. A few minutes later, he came back carrying a metal box. I'd never seen it before. He placed it on the table. Then he locked the kitchen door. I stared at him. What is this? Insurance. Against what? He looked at me. Family. I didn't laugh. He opened the box. Inside were bank statements, property documents, insurance policies, and 2 envelopes. One had my name. The other had no name. I looked at him. What's going on? He took a breath. Your sister has been asking about my finances. I know. She's also been asking me to put her name on the house. My jaw tightened. Why? She says she wants to protect the property. That's not what she told me. I know. Dad looked exhausted. Emily and Jason have debt. How much? Almost $180,000. I stared at him. Jesus. They've been trying to buy another house. With what money? Mine. I didn't know what to say. Dad pushed one of the envelopes toward me. Read this after I'm gone. My chest tightened. Dad. Just promise me. I promise. He pushed the second envelope toward me. This one is different. What is it? Your sister isn't supposed to know about it. I looked at the envelope. Why? Because if she finds it before the time is right, she'll try to destroy it. I felt cold. What is it? He looked me directly in the eyes. My second will. I stared at him. You have 2 wills. He nodded. One is the official one. And this. This one changes everything. I wanted him to explain. But he shook his head. Not yet. Dad. Not yet. Then he smiled. You're going to hate me for this. I tried to smile. I already do. He laughed. It was the last time I heard him laugh. He died 11 days later. At the funeral, Emily cried harder than anyone. She held Mom's hand. She spoke about how much Dad had meant to her. She said he was her best friend. I didn't say anything. I stood near the back. And I watched her. Something felt wrong. 3 days after the funeral, the first will was read. It was simple. Dad left the house to both of us. 50% to Emily. 50% to me. The auto shop went to an employee named Marcus, who had worked with Dad for 17 years. His savings were divided between us. There was nothing unusual. Emily looked relieved. I didn't, because I knew about the second will. But Dad had told me not to reveal it immediately. So I kept quiet. After the lawyer finished reading, Emily hugged me. At least we're doing this together. I smiled. Yeah. She looked at me. You're not going to sell the house, right? No. Good. She smiled. I want to keep it. That surprised me. You do? Of course. It's worth a lot. I know. Then why? She looked away. I just want Dad's house. I nodded. Maybe I had misjudged her. Maybe she really wanted the house for sentimental reasons. Then, 2 months later, she called me. Michael, I have something to tell you. What? We got an offer on the house. I froze. What? A buyer offered $640,000. Emily. Listen. No. You haven't even heard the details. I don't need to. It's a great offer. You said you wanted to keep it. I changed my mind. Why? She sighed. Because we could each walk away with $320,000. I laughed. That's not how I want to remember Dad. Michael, it's a house. No. It's wood and drywall. It's Dad's house. She became quiet. Then she said, You don't even live here. So, you live 4 hours away. So, you don't use it. That's not the point. Then what is? The point is that Dad wanted us to have it. She sighed. He wanted us to have the money too. I knew she was manipulating the conversation, but I didn't know how far she'd go. I told her, I'm not selling. She hung up. I thought that was the end. It wasn't. 3 weeks later, I got an email from a realtor. The subject was closing confirmation. I opened it. My sister had sold the house. Without my signature. For $640,000. I called her. She didn't answer. I called again. Nothing. I called the realtor. The realtor told me the paperwork had been completed. I asked, How? She said, Your sister provided documentation showing she had authority to act on your behalf. My stomach dropped. What documentation? She hesitated. A power of attorney. I hung up. Then I called the attorney who handled Dad's estate. He answered immediately. Michael, did I sign a power of attorney? No. Are you sure? Absolutely. Then how did Emily sell the house? There was a long silence. Then he said, Come to my office. I drove there that afternoon. He placed a document on the table. A power of attorney. My name was on it. My signature was on it. But I had never signed it. I stared at the paper. That's not my signature. I know. Then how? He looked at me. Your sister committed fraud. I felt sick. Can we stop the sale? Possibly. How? He opened another file. There's something else. What? The buyer wasn't an ordinary buyer. I frowned. Who was it? He gave me the name. Jason Carter's business partner. Emily's husband had bought the house through a company. I stared at him. They knew. Yes. They knew Emily didn't own the whole property. Yes. So why would they buy it? Because they expected you to give up. I sat back. For the first time, I felt truly angry. Not hurt. Not disappointed. Angry. I called Emily. This time she answered. Michael, how did you sell Dad's house? Silence. Then. I was going to tell you. When? I don't know. Did you forge my signature? No. You did. I didn't. The attorney has the document. She went quiet. Then she said, "You weren't using the house." I couldn't believe it. "That's your excuse." "I needed the money." "Why?" "Jason's business." I laughed. "There it is. Don't start. You stole Dad's house to save Jason's business. We're married. So, I had to help him. You didn't have to steal from me." She started crying. "You're my brother." "Exactly. Then help me." I closed my eyes. "How much money did you spend?" She didn't answer. "Emily." "Most of it." I felt my heart sink. "How much?" "About $410,000. In 3 weeks." "It was debt." "What debt?" "Business loans. Credit cards. Some. Taxes. Some. Personal loans." She started crying. "Michael, please." I sat down. "What did you do?" "I fixed everything." "No." I said quietly. "You didn't fix anything. You don't understand." "I understand perfectly." Then I remembered Dad's words. Family. And the metal box. The second envelope. I hadn't opened it yet. I hung up. That night I went home. I locked the doors. I opened the metal box. I took out the envelope with my name. My hands were shaking. Inside was a handwritten letter. "Michael, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And if Emily has already sold the house, then everything happened exactly as I feared." I knew she would try. That's why I created the second will. The first will is what everyone will see. The second document is the truth. I left the house to both of you because I wanted to believe you could share something without fighting. But if she sells it without your permission, the second will become active. The house is not to be sold. Instead, it is to be transferred to the Carter Family Trust. You are the sole trustee. Emily has no authority over it. And there's one more thing. I don't want you to punish your sister. I want you to give her one opportunity to tell the truth. If she tells the truth, you can decide what happens next. If she lies, let the law handle it." I stared at the page. At the bottom was Dad's signature. Then I found the second document. It was notarized, filed, legal, and completely different from the first will. Dad had created the trust 6 months before his death. The house had never truly belonged to Emily. Or me. It belonged to the trust. The first will had been intentionally simplified. A test. Dad wanted to see what we would do. And Emily had failed. But there was another page. A list of assets. The auto shop. The house. 2 investment accounts. A life insurance policy. And one number that made me stop breathing. $1.8 million. I called the lawyer. "Why didn't you tell me about the trust?" He sighed. "Your father told me not to until you contacted me. He had $1.8 million. Approximately. Where is it?" "Protected." "From who?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to. I knew. Emily. The next morning, I asked Emily to meet me. She arrived at a coffee shop. Her eyes were swollen. She looked exhausted. I placed the second will on the table. She stared at it. "What is that?" "Dad's second will." Her face changed. "What?" "Read it." She picked it up. She read the first page. Then the second. Her hands started shaking. "Where did you get this?" "Dad gave it to me." "When?" "Before he died." She looked at me. "He knew. He knew you were asking about the house." She started crying. "He knew about Jason. He knew about the debt." She covered her face. I waited. After a minute, she whispered, "Why didn't he tell me?" "Because he wanted you to choose." "Choose what?" "Whether you'd be honest." She looked at me. I was scared. "I know. I thought if I didn't sell the house, we'd lose everything. You should have told me. I thought you'd say no." "I probably would have." She nodded. "That's why." "Yes." She looked down. "Can you help me?" I didn't answer. She cried. "Please." I finally said, "Tell me the truth." She looked at me. "Everything." She hesitated. Then she began. Jason's business had been failing for almost 2 years. They owed $180,000. Then they borrowed another $90,000. Then they used credit cards. Then they took a private loan. Eventually, they were facing foreclosure. Emily panicked. Jason told her the only thing worth enough to save them was Dad's house. She said no. He convinced her. He told her I'd never agree. He told her I didn't care about the house. He told her we could sell it and split the money. Then he created the fake power of attorney. I stared at her. Jason forged my signature. She nodded. "Yes. And you used it." She nodded again. I asked, "Where is he?" "At home." "Does he know about the second will?" "No." "Good." I called the lawyer. The legal process began that afternoon. The buyer was notified that the sale was disputed. The title company froze the funds. Jason's business partner panicked. The $640,000 was placed in escrow. The fake power of attorney was sent to investigators. And suddenly, everyone wanted to talk. Jason called me. He didn't apologize. He threatened me. "You have no idea what you're doing." I said, "I know exactly what I'm doing." "You'll destroy Emily." "No." I said, "You did." He started yelling. "You think you're better than us." "No. You always thought Dad loved you more." I paused, then said, "Maybe he trusted me more." He hung up. 2 days later, Jason was arrested for fraud. Emily wasn't arrested. She cooperated fully. She admitted what she'd done. She returned every dollar she still had. She agreed to sell her car. She moved out of the house. And she filed for divorce. The house sale was canceled. The $640,000 went back to the buyer. The property returned to the trust. The investment accounts remained untouched. And Dad's auto shop stayed with Marcus. But there was still one problem. Emily had spent $410,000. That money was gone. Some went to debt. Some went to Jason. Some went to lawyers. Some simply disappeared. She expected me to demand repayment. I didn't. Instead, I offered her something Dad had asked me to do. A second chance. I told her she could live in the farmhouse, rent-free, for 1 year. But she had to work. She had to pay her own bills. And she couldn't borrow money from me. She stared at me. "Why would you help me?" I said, "Because Dad asked me not to punish you." She cried. Then she hugged me. I didn't hug her back immediately. But eventually, I did. Not because everything was forgiven. It wasn't. Because forgiveness isn't a switch. It's a process. 6 months later, Emily was working at a local insurance office. She was living in Dad's house. She had paid off $27,000 of her personal debt. She had started therapy. And for the first time in years, she wasn't asking anyone for money. One Sunday, I drove down to visit her. We sat on the porch. The same porch Dad used to sit on. Emily looked at me. "Do you ever wish Dad had just left everything to you?" I smiled. "Sometimes. She laughed. At least you're honest. Then she looked toward the yard. I hated this house when I was younger. I know. I thought it was old. It is. She smiled. Now I understand why he loved it. We sat quietly. Then she said, I was jealous of you. I looked at her. Why? Because Dad trusted you. I thought about that. Maybe you could have earned that trust. She nodded. I know. I don't want you to spend the rest of your life trying to become the person Dad wanted. She looked at me. Then what should I do? Become someone you respect. She smiled. I think I'm finally trying. A year after Dad died, I opened the final part of his metal box. There was one last letter. It said, Michael, if you made it this far, then you probably understand why I did what I did. People think inheritance is about money. It isn't. Money doesn't reveal character. It reveals what someone was willing to do when they thought nobody was watching. I knew you would protect your sister. I also knew you might confuse protecting her with saving her from consequences. Don't make that mistake. You can't save someone by carrying their mistakes for them. You can only make sure they have a chance to become better. And if Emily ever learns that lesson, forgive her. Not because she deserves it. Because you deserve peace. I cried when I finished reading it. Because Dad had understood everything. He knew exactly what would happen. He knew my sister. He knew me. And he knew that the real inheritance wasn't the house. It was the lesson. Today, the farmhouse still belongs to the trust. I visit every few weeks. Emily still lives there. She calls me sometimes. Not for money. Not for help. Just to talk. Our relationship isn't perfect. It probably never will be. But it's real now. And that's more valuable than what we had before. As for the $1.8 million Dad left behind, I didn't spend it. I created a small foundation in his name. It helps young mechanics pay for trade school. Marcus runs part of it. Emily volunteers there on weekends. And every year, on Dad's birthday, we have a small dinner at the farmhouse. No expensive restaurant. No fancy clothes. Just family. Last year, Emily stood up during dinner. She looked at me. Then she said, I used to think Dad's greatest gift was the house. She paused. Now I know it was giving me one last chance to become someone he could be proud of. Nobody spoke. Then she smiled. And for the first time since Dad died, I felt like we were finally the family he wanted us to be. Not perfect. Not rich. Not without mistakes. Just honest. And sometimes that's enough. Because I've learned something I wish I'd understood earlier. When money enters a family, people often stop asking, what is fair? And start asking, how much can I get? But an inheritance isn't just a test of what you receive. It's a test of what you're willing to do to get it. My sister lost $410,000. She lost her marriage. She lost the trust of almost everyone around her. But she didn't lose everything. Because she finally told the truth. And maybe that's what Dad was trying to teach us all along. Sometimes the greatest punishment isn't losing money. It's finally having to live with the person you've become. And sometimes the greatest second chance is realizing you don't have to stay that person. So if you were in my position, what would you have done? Would you have exposed your sister immediately? Would you have forgiven her after she told the truth? Or would you have walked away completely? Tell me in the comments. They're hidden from the people sitting at your own dinner table. And sometimes, the person you thought was stealing your inheritance was actually revealing the truth about your family. I'll see you in the next story.